full details of the new Sony full frame E-mount camera that will be announced on May 28th, rumored to be the Sony FX2. We got to talk about this, y'all. Let's go. What up, y'all? Tight Shirt Terry Warford. I'm back for another video. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Remember to be thankful for your freaking life today because you didn't have to have that. You chose to spend the day with me, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, the specs and all of that stuff, well, rumored specs of the Sony FX2 have been leaked, and I want to talk about it in this video. However, before I talk about it, there's a few things I want to say first, and this might piss some people off, and personally, I don't care. Listen, I am, first of all, not under any embargo for this said upcoming camera. I don't know about it. I've never seen it. I don't have it. And if I was under embargo from Sony, trust me, I wouldn't be making this video. In fact, Sony doesn't even like when we make these kind of videos, but you know, it's kind of my channel, so I'm going to do what I want and I want to talk about it. The next thing is I am so sick and tired, y'all. Hear me out. So freaking sick and tired of this leak culture. Okay, I didn't really have a problem with it before, maybe like a couple years ago, but the more and more I go through these product releases, and I'm still a consumer at the end of the day, and I get excited about this stuff, the more and more I cannot stand these leaker websites, these leaker YouTube pages, the content creators that are always leaking the gear and stuff early. Y'all are ruining it for creators. You're ruining it for the general public who gets excited about this stuff. And personally, I think it's a very slummy way to build any type of audience, but neither here nor there. I digress. The information is now out here, it's public. So, you know, I'm not leaking information, so I guess we can talk about it now. But I just wish the whole leak culture would just go somewhere with that. Anyways, let's go ahead and look over these specs real quick. Rumored specs, okay? 33 megapixel sensor from the A7 IV and A7 C2. AI chip, integrated tilt and EVF, resolution unclear, mechanical shutter, AI autofocus, 4K Super 35, 4K 60 Super 35, I'm sorry, 32-bit float, body's thicker than the FX3, cooled FX body, same ports of storage of the FX3, price around $3,500 with an announcement coming on May 28th. I have so many questions about this camera and its release and the position and all of that stuff, which is what I want to talk about. First of all, I love working with Sony. I've worked with them over the years, but you know, I'm going to call a spade a spade. I don't know what Sony's doing right now. I have no clue what they're doing. It seems like all of their emphasis is on lenses, which they are absolutely crushing right now. Like, they are making the best lenses that you can get. But from a camera perspective, I'm totally lost. I don't know where they're going with this camera, especially when you have, you know, and I don't want to bring other cameras into the conversation, but it seems like I'm gonna have to. You know, when you got cameras like the S1H Mark II, the S1 Mark II that I'm using right now, the S1R Mark II, Nikon dropping a Z5 Mark II, they have a Z6 III, Z8, Z9. Canon is even, you know, dropping R5 Mark II and other cameras, and it's like Sony, either one of two things is happening. Either they are waiting to pull out the big dogs, like the big trump cards, after this whole tariff situation has boiled over. Maybe they're waiting to see what the competition is bringing first before they bring out the big guns. Or maybe they have just run out of innovation when it comes to creating cameras, which I don't know if I see that happening, but you know, it's a possibility. The next thing that I'm going to say is a lot of times Sony does tons of market research and analysis. So anytime we be like, yo, this camera's stupid, this camera's not going to sell, they prove us wrong. I mean, obviously their marketing people are way smarter than I am, but I'm a bit perplexed at this one because I've watched all the videos, I've been all across the forums, and I haven't seen one person say, this is the camera that I've been waiting on. So anyways, with that said, I find it very weird, $3,500, y'all, that they would still stick the 33 megapixel sensor from the A7 IV and the A7 C2 in it for, again, $3,500. That sensor, although it is a great photography sensor, it is not the best for video. Is it capable? Sure, any sensor today is capable, but when it comes to like readout speeds, it is very, very slow. And there's other sensors out there that have more dynamic range, although it is a very, very sharp sensor since it's being oversampled from 7K. With that being said, I just can't understand how a camera for $3,500 in 2025 can come out with 4K 60 and Super 35. Like, there are so many cameras now that are cheaper, okay, that have full frame 4K 60, full frame 4K 120. Even Sony's own cameras, like the ZV-E1 is uncropped 4K 60. The FX3 is basically uncropped 4K 120. Along with the ZV-E1 and the A7S3 and the FX3, that whole line, right? So it's just very weird that they would come out with this sensor in an FX style camera. I've never heard anybody say, like, bro, I mean, maybe I heard one person say, I heard Cam say before, like, yo, I mean, you know, I love the A7C2 because some of the Blazar anamorphics are crop sensor anamorphics, right? So, you know, with the A7 IV, A7C2, they do have that Super 35 mode. So there's maybe a use case for it, but that is a very, 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 very small, in my opinion, section of people, right? Anyways, I'm very perplexed at this sensor choice, especially for $3,500, if that is the price. We fully expect Sony to bring any modern camera up to snuff. So they're going to put the AI chip in there, the new autofocus algorithms, all that other stuff in there. A mechanical shutter in a FX camera, again, weird. If it's a FX camera, people buying it don't, unless I'm wrong, unless I'm missing something here, don't care about using the camera for photography. When I had the FX3 and I still have the ZV-E1, sure, they take amazing photos, but never once is that my primary choice. And again, you know, maybe I'm, you know, the super snobby, oh, dude, you got 40,000 cameras, you can make that type of decision. Fair. But even with that, like, it wouldn't be my primary choice for photography. So I never missed not having a mechanical shutter in, like, my ZV-E1. So why they will put one in here is weird. 32-bit flow audio, especially if it could do it internally without having to use a top handle, which if it does need a top handle, is it going to be a new top handle, you know, that maybe the FX30 and the FX3 don't have? Is it launching with a new top handle? We don't know that. Body is thicker than the FX3. And I'm also a little confused about this. The FX3, in my opinion, FX30, FX3 have one of the best bodies ever made. It looks amazing. I love the freaking red tally lights all over it. I love the silver tone to it, the freaking mount points and everything on it. But it's already a thick girl. What is it that this camera is going to include to make it thicker? Maybe it's this new EVF that we're talking about. I don't know. But same ports and storage as the FX3, price around $3,500. And then the last thing, to go back real quick to this integrated tilt and EVF thing, I guess I can understand the why on it. You know, when I used to use the FX3, that thing had a bad external display that was very dim and bright sun, and I found myself just, man, wishing that I could just look through the EVF, because when I had the A7S3, that's what I used to do. The rear display on the A7S3 was not that great either. It wasn't that bright, but if I'm outside and I don't have a monitor and I still want to check my exposure and all that stuff, I would just peek through the EVF. So, you know, I guess the EVF is not a bad thing, but if that comes at the expense of a thicker body, I don't know. Neither here nor there, okay? I am very confused about this FX2. I really am. If it's a thing, if this is what the specs are, if this is the name of it and this is the launch, I'm confused. I'm concerned and confused because again, I know Sony does market research, but who asked for this? It's almost like Sony is like, oh man, well, Lumix is coming out and Nikon is coming out with all these cameras. We got to drop something. We can't drop maybe our trump cards yet, but we got to put something out there. So let's just take a blend of everything we got laying around. We probably got all these FX bodies laying around and a bunch of A7 IV, A7C2 sensors. Hell, let's just make something with it. Let's make something with it and see what we could come up with, right? So I'm very curious to see how this camera sells, if it's the real thing. And also, I think $3,500 is way too freaking hot for this to be coming with the same sensor of the A7 IV and the A7C2. It would be different if they were able to squeeze more out of it. Or maybe, you know, repurpose, you know, whether it's a faster sensor or a more resolution based sensor, like where they wanted to put the eggs at, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would be different if they did some of that, but it seems like this is the exact same setup. No additional frame rates, no additional resolutions, no additional aspect ratios, no nothing. Just the same freaking sensor in an FX camera, and I'm just so confused by that. So anyways, I'm very curious to know, A, what do you think about this new supposed Sony FX2? That's number one. B, how much do you think this camera should cost if it is a thing? And then C, if you think this is a camera that you will want to buy or anybody will want to buy. I'm very curious to know what y'all think about this new Sony FX2. Let me know down there in the comments. I'm gonna be down there active in the comments with y'all. And yeah, that's it. If you want to check out my video on the S1 Mark II, because it is a hell of a camera, y'all, I will leave that link at the end of this video. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. We are almost at 100,000 subscribers. And then lastly, join me on Instagram. It's Terry_Warfield, and TikTok Terry_Warfield. Be a part of the crew, part of the family. Much appreciated. Till next time, I'm out of here. Piece of chicken grease, type shirt, Terry Warfield. Peace.